Hello everyone, today we shall be discussing the previous year questions of geography and let's start with question 1. So our question is, how are climate change and sea level rise affecting the existence of many island nations? And you have to discuss it with examples. Okay, so here you have to break down your question. The question is asking about the two factors, that what are the impact of climate change and what are the impact of sea level rise on island nations. And you have to substantiate with examples. And after that, you can also provide the solutions also. Because if the directive is discussed, you have to dig deeper into the topic. So, let's discuss a basic framework. So, in the introduction, you can give a simple definition or you can provide simple linkages between climate change, sea level rise and impact on island nations. Or alternatively, you can quote any report if you have. Okay. You can break down the impacts under socio-economic impacts, environmental impacts and other impacts if you can think of. And lastly, under the conclusion, simply you can conclude with SDG 13 or any international best practice. Okay, so let's start. If you don't have any knowledge of any report or data fact, you can simply write the linkage in the introduction that climate change because of the global warming is leading to thermal expansion and melting of glaciers, which is leading to sea level rise, and as a result they are creating problems for island nations. Okay, so this linkage you can write in your introduction or you can quote IPCC report, no problem. Now, coming to the body part. So, under the body part, you have to write the impacts of these two things. So, see, remember one thing, sea level rise is one of the impact of climate change. So, it's not like under the impacts you will write all the impacts of sea level rise only. That because of sea level rise, water inundation is there, or intrusion of salt water is there, loss of livelihood is there, because these are the impacts of sea level rise. You have to include other impacts of climate change also. For example, the impacts of change in ocean currents. For example, the impacts of change in humidity and temperature. For example, the impacts of precipitation change. These all things you have to add separately. Okay. Now, impacts starting from socio-economic impacts. So, what you can include under socio-economic impacts? You can include human loss. You can include economic loss. You can include biodiversity loss. These all things. And rest all impacts which you can think of. Okay. And finally, the conclusion. So under conclusion, you can create your own conclusion. For example, you can give the solutions for adaptation also. You can give the solution for mitigation. Okay. So now please pause the video, take you 7 minutes and write your answer. Then we shall be discussing the complete answer. Now, coming to the answer. So see, as I have already said, we can establish the linkage about the climate change and sea level rise, or you can quote the report, IPCC report. Okay. Now, coming to the body. So see, here I have divided the impacts under 3 factors, that is socio-economic, second is political and third is environmental. So starting with socio-economic, so first impact will be the submergence of land. Obviously, because of the sea level rise, because of thermal expansion, or because of the extreme weather events like the cyclones, there will be the submergence of land. So nations like Maldives, Tuvalu, they are facing the loss of territory because the land is submerged. Right. Now, second thing is the population displacement. See, if there is loss of territory, if people don't have the land to live, obviously there will be migration, there will be internal and external migration, creating the issue of climate refugees. And because of this issue, recently it was in news that Kiribati is planning offshore settlement in Fiji because they don't have any land to live because of submersion. Right. Now, the health risk. The health risk because of the waterborne diseases, the health risk because of the rise in temperature, also the health risk because of the food insecurity, because the agricultural land will also get submerged, right? And because of the intrusion of the salt water, there will be water scarcity also, because it will also create the health risk, right? Now, coming to the economic stress. See, economic stress can be because of tourism also. It can be because of the fisheries sector also, because island nations depend a lot on fisheries sector. Okay, so here you can quote one example also, that because of the sea level rise, the tourism and fisheries sector is impacted, and it can cost around 30% of GDP to Mauritius. Okay, now coming to the political issue. So, because of the submergence of island, disappearance of island, it will create the challenges for the maritime boundaries. Why I am saying this? Because according to UN clause, the maritime boundary for the archipelagic nations are decided by joining the outermost landmasses. Okay, but for example, if this outermost landmass got submerged, then again it will create the question how the maritime boundary will be created, right? So this is the issue. Now coming to the environmental issue. So first is coastal erosion and salinization. See, for example, this is your coast, and this is the seawater. Okay, so because of the energy of this seawater, this coast get eroded, and because of this erosion, seawater now can easily come to the nearby areas. Okay, so it can lead to coastal erosion, and on the coast there are many plants, animals, huge biodiversity. So biodiversity can also be impacted. Second thing is salinization. So if the seawater can easily come in the inside areas, so it can lead to the salinization of freshwater resources. Now coming to loss of biodiversity. So here you can quote very good example of coral bleaching. Because why? If the temperature increases, it will create heat stress. As a result, the algae will leave the corals and it will lead to coral bleaching. Okay. So, because of all these things, there will be reduction in fish stock also, and reduction in fish stock will overall lead to the economic impact on any kind. So, this all we have discussed. Now, coming to the conclusion. So, see, conclusion can be very simple because you have discussed all the challenges. So, simply in the conclusion, you can write the solutions of all those challenges. So, first solution for the climate change, easily you can say, the increase in the use of renewable energy. Okay, you have to plant more mangroves. You have to increase the blue carbon sequestration. Last, you can say about the international finance, because the developed countries have to help the developing countries in adaptation and mitigation effects of the climate change. Okay, lastly, you can talk about the climate refugees, that you have to plan in a very good manner about the relocation of climate refugees. Okay, so in this way, we have discussed all the factors of this question about the introduction, all the factors are under the body, and finally the conclusion. Okay, so that's all for this question. Thank you.